Yeah, Maia, agô braço fio aê, aê, Maia, agô braço fio aê, oh.
Yeah, Maia, agô braço fio aê, aê, Maia, agô braço fio aê, oh.
Yeah, Maia, agô braço fio aê, aê, Maia, agô braço fio aê, oh.
Yeah, Maia, agô braço fio aê, aê, Maia, agô braço fio aê, oh.
Meu maqueie, Maia, agô braço fio aê, aê, Maia, agô braço fio aê, oh.
Yeah, Maia, agô braço fio aê, aê, Maia, agô braço fio aê, oh.
Agô, yeah, Maia, agô braço fio aê, aê, Maia, agô braço fio aê, oh.
Yeah, Maia, agô braço fio aê, aê, Maia, agô braço fio aê, oh.
Agô braço fio aê,
Agô braço fio aê, oh.
e a tchê pra meu yenha, oh.
Agô braço fio aê, oh.
Agô braço fio aê,
Agô braço fio aê, oh.
agô, meu yemanha,
Agô braço fio aê, oh.
e agô braço fio meu mãe,
Agô braço fio aê, oh.
agô braço fio aê,
Agô braço fio aê, oh. Agô braço fio aê, oh. Agô braço fio aê, oh. Yeah, Maia,
yemanha,
agô braço fio aê,
aê, aê,
yeah, Maia,
yemanha,
agô braço fio aê, oh.
axé, axé.
And we going whiny to bless up. Sure, that we got wine the other day and thing like that. Yeah, happy Black History Month. But we be Gullah Geechee anointed people. We live in Black history. 365, 366. Now I want Hunter for take a lead Afro-Atlantic legacy journey.
Cura, cura, eu. O dom da cura, cura, eu. O cambrão eu. O cambrão eu. O dom da cura, cura.
O dom da cura, cura, eu. Cantamos igualzinho, do mesmo jeito.
Pode contar essa?
Essas cantigas, a gente, quando canta, naturalmente são invocadas algumas energias. Deixa elas quietas.
Pedra Preta é um rei que nas matas mora. Eu vinha ver seus filhos que tanto lhe adoram.
A importância é poder resgatar a memória do povo de São. É poder dizer para a sociedade brasileira, temos uma história que veio trazido nos navios negreiros e que a gente lutou durante décadas, durante gerações para manter.
Quando se começa o Candomblé, canta primeiro para Exu, a poder abrir os caminhos, abrir as estradas. Bombom gira jacundando, ai ai, orerê, bombom gira jacundando.
Pombo gira mujando jaju, pombo gira jamugangue, ai ai, olele, pombo gira jamugangue, ai ai, olele.
Essa é a grande importância do trabalho de mostrar que essas línguas foram faladas, que essas línguas sobreviveram e que o brasileiro não se interessa por estudar línguas africanas simplesmente porque são línguas de oralidade e o que não é escrito em letras não tem legitimidade, não é legítimo.
Deixaram ele fazer um registro, uma memória, mas ele não imaginou o que isso ia impactar nos dias de hoje. O que essas fotos, que esses registros iam impactar no século XXI, né? E mostrar essas figuras que hoje pode servir, claro, de exemplo para a gente, né? Principalmente para o povo negro, para o povo do santo.
O babalorixá Manuel Falefá diz em G a alegria de vencer a guerra, os cantigos. O chuve, moiuque, só pode deitar nos acatamé, só pode deitar nos acatamé, moquere que recantar nos acatamé.
O choque, moiuque, o pode deitar nos acatamé.
Gente, para mim é uma memória viva. Em mim eu sempre tive, meu pai não morreu. Meu pai sempre esteve vivo dentro de mim. Isso para mim está me mostrando que ele está mais vivo do que nunca.
Para mim, a minha sensação é que eu volto no tempo, não é? Volto no tempo onde eu ainda não tinha nem nascido, mas o meu DNA já estava no universo. E faz com que eu sou quase contemporânea de muitos deles em pontos diferentes da vida. Aê, vou do epostador, vou do epocidacaiá, vou do epositador. Aê, vou do epostador, vou do eposidarromé, vou do epositador. Aê, vou do epositador, vou do epocidacaiá, vou do epositador. Aê, vou do epositador, vou do eposidarromé, vou do epositador. Aê, vou do epositador. O Vodum está aqui presente entre todos nós.
So glad that all of our children are tuning in one more again with we, the zooming in on sustainability. I know if all of our children know who this should be, but this should have Queen Quet, head on the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation. I'm so glad that all of our children taught them not robbery, but join we right here one more again as we celebrate who we be right here in this land of the Gullah Geechee. I want honor, but just take a moment for give praise, for give thanks for God for this your day and thing like that. But join we one more again, especially these your children of the diaspora of Mother Africa, what they, North America, the Gullah Geechee Nation, Brazil, all through the world and thing like that. Because the cast we like these your seed and thing on the wind. This your dear Yamaya, all with dear on the water. But give thanks. But she pour libation for we. So for all of we ancestors them, we had the strength for make them cross this your male passage. And we got a DNA. And we, this your day. Let we take a moment of silence. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. I'm so glad that 100 children to tune in one more again for we first episode right here from the Gullah Geechee Nation for 2021, zooming in on sustainability. But this your day, we go crack we teeth about Afro-Spirituality. Plenty people might learn, plenty people learn yet about voodoo, plenty people learn yet about root and other thing like that. Some people not yet about Candomblé and thing like that. Oh boy, you see, but Candomblé. If one of crack your teeth about what we've been up to, seeking in the wilderness, and with the Yeti reader, a shout so and thing like that, in the circle of going round, and then how Yeti about how they chant when I pray, you go in the wilderness, and thing like that. Then how would go in Yona and cross over to another continent, and you are the Yeti that beat the drum so. In the same kind of rhythm and thing like that. And you're the Yeti and crack your teeth and go on and thing like that. And thing like that. And mix up or the Portuguese, like when Hona Yeti, we the crack we teach so, but it got mixed up in with some Elizabethan English and things like that. Or you go on yonder, and Yeti that churn, a cracky teach, say a lap, yeah. You to say, oh, wait, then the Yoruba, or wait, then the Gullah Geechee, or wait, then the shout, or wait, that a Candomblé, wait, that a Risha, wait, that Ifa. If you want to crack your teeth with any of them thing like that, you're to crack your teeth for all of them thing like that. All the thing with the Juju was sure what we to do. And some of the rest of people use the word for the spirit of voodoo. And then they cast that cross, all of the thing. But the cracky other rest of people don't crack your teeth like a wee and thing like that. Then make all this shot. And it's a kind of spooky thing for movie and thing like that. And let me crack my teeth so Hannah can make sure you understand. We to crack we teeth for what we to do, right, child? Let me say it this way, so you fully understand that we are not here to celebrate the things that have been Hollywoodized, the things that have been misrepresentations of our cultural traditions. Here on Zooming In, we take a close look at the truth, the actuality, the facts of who we are as children of Mother Africa, in all of our beauty and all of our legacy, with all our spirit, which is voodoo, is spirit. That way up. It's just like when we say Ashe, and so it is. It's just like in the church when we say amen. So a lot of people, when they come to the Sea Islands, they come seeking who we be as Gullah Geechees. And if they're not yet people to crack your teeth so and things like that, they used to say crack your teeth and say they ain't dead anymore. Now they come in, and even if people don't speak Gullah, they assume that every person that's melanin is Gullah Geechee. Not true. If you're a tourist, they're likely a tourist. If Huna come here, they're likely a come here. Not too many of what would have been here. A crack we teeth without the rest of people like it. So a lot of people will never hear us speak Gullah because of what happened over the decades, over the years since the transatlantic slave trade began. So when this crime against humanity began and the scattering of the children of Mother Africa started to take place around the world, a massive amount of Africans were taken to South America. Another set was taken through the Caribbean or Caribbean, depending on who's pronouncing it. And then many were offloaded at Sullivan's Island here in the Gullah Geechee Nation. Well, wherever you go, there you are. That song said you can't hide from yourself. So as African people, we transmit with every essence of our DNA who our ancestors were, but our acculturation becomes different from land to land, wherever we stand. And so here it is rooted in the souls becomes what's rooted in the soil. And from that soil grows natural elements, herbs that we often use to heal the body. Even today, as I prepared for this moment, I have before me my tea, all right, in the mason jar. All my life, we've used it. We've had tea. Excuse me. We don't do herbal baths in the Gullah Geechee Nation, but in the Caribbean they do. Many islands, including the Virgin Islands, they'll say to you, you want a bath? We got the herbal bath and things like that. Here, we'll make a salve. We'll make something you drink. We'll make a root for you to nyam, or we go pick the root or break the root for a nyam for different things, depending on what ail you. So sometimes the ailments are physical. Many times they're spiritual, manifesting in the physical. So on my home island, one of the greatest herbologists, people who were root specialists, is Dr. Buzzard. We've had 2 generations, or 3 generations actually, of Dr. Buzzards, all from my home island here in the Gullah Geechee Nation. So more often than not, when people ask me, where are you from? And I state where I'm from, those who are truly Abudu of the Juju, they quickly go, so you are the true people of the root. What many people don't know about Dr. Buzzard is that he was a Christian, that he went to church, that he went to praise houses. Every generation of them did. So I know a lot of you ready to turn off the screen right now because you have been taught what the Western world has said about Afro-spirituality, that there is a category for it, there is a box for it, and there's only one name for it. Christianity is Afro-spirituality. What continent do you think Jesus was born on? Africa. Many of the people that we read about in biblical scriptures are Africans. So the seeking practice of us as native Gullah Geechees is a true initiation ritual, but we don't use those words. Socioanthropologists and people from the Western world taught us those words. We don't have such words in the Gullah language, just like there usually isn't a name for the spiritual practices until they're syncretized with each other around the world. So when we hear the various names, if we were to put them aside and just look, just feel, just experience, that's when you come in contact with spirit. Now there's Holy Spirit, and there are spirits that just walk around and float on the earth. Some bringing positive energy, some bringing negative energy, both there on the spectrum, all on the tree of life. But we who are Africans of the diaspora that have been cast around the world, have been cast into many times aspects of the Western world, where we then distract and detract from our own Afrocentricity, our own Africanness. We start believing that that which is ours is somebody else's, that it comes from Europe or it comes from Europeans telling us what to do and how to do it, that somehow it doesn't belong to us, and then it becomes something that's fetish, something that's spooky, because someone who is not of that culture and that tradition starts to write about it, classify it, and normally mystify it. And so when you walk up to real practitioners, as we say, you'd never know that's who they are. They don't look like how they dressed up the woman and costumed her and made this fictional character, calling her Mrs. Buzzard in one of my favorite movies, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Dr. Buzzard nor any wives of his ever lived in Savannah, and they did not hang out in the graveyard or the cemetery in Savannah at night. But sure could have seen him shouting with me though. For sure, right where? In the church. So it never surprises me, no matter what island I journey to, no matter what part of the world I journey to, when I connect with African people who are still linked to being African and that have not been assimilated or fully assimilated into Western society and traditions and belief systems, but instead have taken all of the good of them all and used them every day. And one person that was curious like me about ensuring that our legacy lives on was a man that I honor all the time, ever since I learned of him, and have had the honor to speak about him, have had the honor to hear from his family and have them thank me for keeping his name and his work alive. And that is Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner. So when I was emailed by Xavier and Cassio, all the way from Brazil, saying they were working there on work that Dr. Turner had done in Brazil, in Bahia, amongst those who practice Candomblé, which is so similar to what is practiced here in the Gullah Geechee Nation, the Hashaba, the Bushaba, and later in the spirit houses. That's what they call them in the Caribbean. I said, of course, I'd love to know more about your work. And they said, well, we know about you. We want to come and we want to talk to you. So I'm so honored today to have Xavier here with us as one of our guests to actually introduce the work that has now been completed, that you saw the trailer, as we call it, for, or the teaser to the film for, about Afro-Atlantic legacies and the journey they're on. So Xavier, we know where you are in Brazil. You are celebrating Yamaya, and unfortunately, that is why our brother Cassio could not be here with us today. But please turn on your camera so the family can see you and bring us greetings from there in Brazil. Alafia, how honored to do today, Xavier. It's so good
Thank
to
you.
see you once again.
I'm fine. I'm very happy to be with you all. It's an honor for me. And yes, I would like to bring greetings from Bahia and say that it's been 9 years adventure between the United States and Brazil to bring back these amazing recordings and photographs that Dr. Lorenzo Dal Turner did in 1940, 1941 in Brazil. And it's been extremely rewarding because the more than 6,000 Candomblé communities that we have here only in the state of Bahia didn't know. No one did know about these amazing archives and heritage. So it's been a long run because we had to find financial support to have these transformed into two books and six discs, a film, and a second film that's ongoing now.
Outstanding. So tell me, what is the name of this second film where you came here to the Gullah Geechee Nation and you captured some aspects of this to show the linkage between Bahia and the Gullah Geechee Nation? Tell us the name of this film, and is it right now in theaters? If there are theaters open in the midst of a pandemic in Bahia, or is it going to film festivals? What's happening with it right now?
Okay, the first one, Afro-Atlantic Legacies, has been awarded for prizes in a festival here in Brazil recently for the Critics Award, and then the Public Award, and then the Best Director Award, and the Best Screenplay. But most of all that we've done for the last 9 years was to bring back to the Candomblé communities. And it was just amazing for us when we went to the Sea Islands 2 years ago and we met you and we met Obade Fumi II, and we got in touch with this amazing community that you have in the Sea Islands in the Gullah Geechee area to see how closely related it is to what we have here in Bahia. So we had this project of bringing you in 2020, and then the pandemic came. But I do truly believe that for many reasons, and I mean, for cultural reasons and for these shared and connected spirituality that connects both these sides, north and south of the Atlantic, and also since 2020 in the United States and everywhere has been a year that beyond the pandemics has shown how racism kills everywhere. And we want to associate ourselves to the Black Lives Matter movement that is called Vidas Negras Importam here in Brazil. And you probably know that in Brazil we have 65,000 killings, extrajudicial killings by the police every year. And more than 77% of these people killed are young Blacks between age 15 and 24. So there is an ongoing genocide in Brazil. And I do believe that only uniting our forces, we perhaps someday will be able to struggle white supremacy, both in the north there in the United States, and here in Brazil, and in the whole Americas. So I think that beyond the scientific project, beyond the academic aspects of the research, I believe that the what people like Dr. Lorenzo Tano wanted was to try to unite the African diaspora in the Americas. And so I think we have this duty of showing his work and show how amazingly important it has been, not only for the past, but for the present and for the coming generations.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we salute you for doing this, to even be interested in this. And it's critical that you mentioned what you just said about the killings and the deaths and white supremacy, because it is white supremacy that denied many of our ancestors the opportunity to fully express their Africanness in any type of public spaces and public ways. And hence why we had the bush arbors, the brush arbors, the spirit houses, these hidden, somewhat hidden places, hidden to those we needed it to be hidden to, and open to those who we needed it to be open to. And that circle of connection continued because some years back, some generations now back, the Oba of Oyotunji, who is here with us today, Alafia Oba Adefume, the second Kabiesi, he is here with us today. And they are here in the Gullah Geechee Nation because of the vision that his father had, as well as groups of people who were actually Northerners, who weren't native Gullah Geechees, that sought out a spiritual place and a spiritual space in which to be free, in which to actually be able to get out of many of the environments, away from the kind of violence that you're mentioning that polarized many of our people who went north from down south, went to urbanized areas to get out of the urban jungle and to get back to the Africanness and get back to the roots of their culture and who they be. And they wanted to have places in which they could express their spirituality fully. So as a result, we have the Oyotunji African Village. And so, Oba, we glad that Hona the day with we. Alafia, how Hona to do?
Oh, I do pues.
Yeah,
Alafia. We're fine. Thank you, Mama Queen. Blessings.
Ready for see Hona one more again. I can't see this your King Kelly get on my show and thing like that. I can send him in the bush with this, not for the herb. He could go and get a switch and thing like that, because then I act up and think he's gone. But no, I know. But right now we have a distance, right? We have a distance.
Yes.
Yes, but it's glad to see Hana Oba. So tell the folks here a little bit about, because you heard what our brother here Xavier said, and you know both of us had an excellent time hosting him and brother Cassio when they came and visited us, thankfully prior to the pandemic, so that they could capture on film what it is that we yet live out today, that makes these links of Afro-spirituality that so many people deny, that many people don't want to admit, that African people still hold on to their historic legacy. They look at these things on these films and they want to Hollywoodize everything. You know, they think that they're coming to the village for some type of Hollywood experience, of some type of Halloween experience, instead of coming a lived culture of spirituality. So could you talk a little bit, because I know that Yoruba and Candomblé, they have a direct link. Could you talk about what that linkage actually is?
Absolutely, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having us on this forum this afternoon, Mama Queen, as I affectionately like to refer to you. But all others refer to you as the chiefess of our Gullah Geechee Nation. And we respect that, we uphold that, and we march forward knowing that it is our mothers who are the progenitors, the leaders, the protectors. And every revolution was started and by our mothers. You know, when they fed up, they fed up. And so I thank you for having this forum. And I always say that you are the hardest working queen I know.
You sure do say that.
For the culture. I've been saying that for a long time ago. I said, boy, that ain't never sit down. Crazy.
Yeah, because I don't know who said you been a lily boy. I know you said you been a lily boy. You ain't been a keep still back then either yourself.
Yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. And part of my journeys that I've been able to have and things I've been able to experience based on what, you know, Eledumare or God has in store, it led me to Brazil. Only because my father always talked about Brazil. He traveled to Rio in 1982, I believe, and they had a Yoruba conference in Rio that he went to, and he was extremely impressed at how he knew that if African culture was left alone in the United States and they didn't take the drum from us over there at the Stono Rebellion, then African culture would be woven into the fabric of America much better than just booty shaking and rap music and baseball and football. Okay, that's our culture too, but when you get to Brazil, you see how institutions like the Samba School, which was a Yoruba temple originally, and at the Samba School, or at the Yoruba temple, they would, you know, venerate the deities of the earth, the wind, the fire, the different angels and things like this, the Orisha as we call them. And then what they would do is they would have drum competitions. And these drum competitions slowly but surely metamorphosize themselves into huge competitions of what we call the Samba today. So the Samba Rio Carnival that everybody talks about is really a Yoruba Orisha Candomblé celebration. Most of the temples or most of the Samba schools represent themselves through the colors of the Orisha. They represent themselves through the stories of the Orisha. And when you see them parade down the Samboro Dromo in Rio, Samboro Dromo is the avenue built especially just for Carnival. It's about 2 miles long, a stadium 2 miles long built just for Carnival. And each school that comes and parades down that avenue, 5,000 strong, mind you, their theme is based on some traditional African Yoruba Congo theme each year. Each year that I've been to Brazil, I've seen this continuously. And so that proves that how if African culture left alone, if African culture was left alone in Africa, we'd have a Wakanda, you see what I'm saying? But African culture, if it was just left alone in the United States and allowed to blend, then it will be able to add its positivity to the community. Because I use the Samba School as an example as I open up here this afternoon, because the Samba School it went from being a traditional religious temple rite to being something that's contemporary that all of society can use. Black, white, Chinese, everyone in society can use Samba. It's good exercise, it's good music, it's spiritual. And the Samba schools, catch this, the Samba schools are sometimes large as 2 or 3 airplane hangars. And they play their role in the community as a place for the children to go and learn culture. You know, and so the children, when they get out of school, they practice for the Samba all year long. They learn how to make costumes, they learn design, they learn media, they learn modeling, they learn how to smile. And when you go to the Samba school, you say hello to the children, they do like this. They immediately throw on a television smile. And I say, wow, do they train them to smile like that? I don't believe it. That it was just an institution based on African culture that made its way into modern time, and it's useful in that it brings all of the stories, the music, and all of the esoteric parts of our culture into reality and into a yearly production that brings in the most money to South America than any other event, and it's based on our culture. You see, so we have to love our culture and know our culture, because when we love it and know it and we don't shun it, then it won't be taken over, because primarily the Samba is taken over by the corporate, you know, Scotiabank, AT&T, corporate people got it now. So that was really what impressed me when I first went to Brazil. But then after digging deeper, I really got to visit some of the Candomblé temples. And in these Candomblé temples, I got to see the culture that I'm used to seeing in America, that I know if we had a public temple, it'll be shut down, or people will call us weirdos or voodoo worshipers or African booty scratchers and all type of negative derogatory terms. All of the above, just demeaning something that they didn't understand. But when you travel throughout the diaspora, you can see it's quite normal.
Right. So now, Oba, this is very critical, because like you said at the beginning, you're always saying to me that I'm the hardest working queen, you know, the hardest working delegate, you know, various things you say. And so it's interesting to me that a lot of people really don't understand the respect of the women in regard to Afro-Spirituality when we talk about the African diaspora, because so many people are accustomed to the patriarchy that Western society has brought in. But Xavier, one of the critical things that you pointed out to me when we met here is that the Candomblé houses, and you said that over 60 women actually lead the show. And I noticed in the video, in the work you present, those are women that you are largely talking to. Why don't you speak to that aspect of what is still going on yet today with Candomblé and the women leaders there in Brazil?
Yes, that's a tradition that's been going on for generations, and especially in the Yoruba traditions here in Bahia, there is an amazing leadership by women. And so one of the purposes of the film was to find living people that had been recording and singing and speaking their languages in 1940. And so we had an amazing privilege of finding two people that were still alive. One was uh, she's the daughter of Mãe Menininha do Gantuá, who was the most famous Candomblé priestess in the history of Brazil. And when she sang with her mother in 1940 here in Bahia for Dr. Lorenzo Turner, who did amazing recordings of them, speaking Yoruba and then singing a lot of songs for the Orishas. I met her, and she's 92 years old now, and we were able to find different people that were directly related, sons, daughters. And so these amazing legacy that Dr. Turner recorded. And the first film is most focused on African languages that are still and were still spoken then in 1940, Yoruba, Fon, Kimbundu, Kikongo. And the second film is much more on music. And as Oba was saying, the influence of African heritage, African music, African religion, African languages in Brazil is obviously extremely important. What would be Brazil without Africans? Nothing. So
that's right. And drumming.
yes, and
right.
what would be the United States, obviously, without the Black experience? I think that's the same. The numbers are different. You know, we received, I mean, we had more than maybe 5 to 6 million Africans that arrived in Brazil. So maybe 10 times more than in the United States. I remember something that Dr. Lorenzo Turner wrote to Melville Herskovitz and Franklin Frazier when he was here in Brazil, in Bahia especially. He said, well, people here are extremely proud of their Africanness, of their Blackness and Africanity. And so they are aware of this legacy that comes through Candomblé, and Candomblé has been spreading all over Brazilian society, even and despite racism. So today, Candomblé communities are struggling against newborn Christian, new Pentecostal churches that took power since the 1970s here in Brazil, and now they're allied with Bolsonaro, the president, that is an extreme right, new fascist president. You know, he was Donald Trump's best friend, just to have an idea. And so these new mega churches are trying to undermine all that came from Africa and to call it the devil. And so that's a struggle. And that's amazing to think that after 4 centuries of struggle, people within Candomblé communities are still needing to struggle for their worship of their religion and their ancestries. So that's why this legacy of Dr. Lorenzo Turner is so important to them. And that's why, you know, we can prove through Dr. Lorenzo Turner's recordings that African languages were still spoken on a daily basis 80 years ago in 1940. So you can imagine that 5, 6, 7, 8 generations of Africans and the descendants here in Brazil, despite racism, despite the horror of slavery, which is probably one of the biggest, most terrible crimes against humanity, were able to maintain this amazing heritage. And fortunately, as Oba and you said, Black women are in the front of the struggle, like always. And because of them, this heritage is still preserved here in Brazil.
Right. So now tell me this. So there, when you go into, have you had an opportunity to actually go into some of the Candomblé houses with any of the women? Have you had that experience? And if so, are any of them, is this passed down of, if there is a leading priestess now, is she the descendant of a leading priestess from generations ago?
Yes, yes. I came to Bahia, I'm French, but I came to Bahia 28 years ago, and I was hosted when I arrived by Pierre Verger, who was another French anthropologist and photographer, who was 90 years old when I met him. And so he introduced me to many people in Candomblé, because he was a Babalao. He was initiated in Benin in Nigeria, and he was extremely respected for the work he did with Candomblé communities over maybe 5 decades here in Bahia. So through Pierre Verger, Fatumbi, his Yoruba name, I was able to, over the last 3 decades, to be directly involved within Candomblé communities and to see how, I would say that in Congo Angola tradition, until now, men are leading usually the communities, and we call them father of saints. And within the Yoruba, Fon, Geechee traditions that came from Nigeria or Benin, the whole Dahomey, as I said, most leaders are women. And yes, there are many, many generations of women, like in the Gantua Teher, one of the most famous in Salvador, in which my Menininha was the priestess, and now we have her daughter, and then probably someday, who knows, a granddaughter as a priestess.
Excellent, excellent. So I know that there are a number of different things. I know, Oba, you mentioned that you wanted to also show some people some of what you experienced. You told us some of what you experienced, but I know you said you brought some footage of what you experienced in Brazil. But before we show it, I want people to know that they are going to have an opportunity to experience this full film, because on February the 19th, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to do a showing of the complete film. So for those of you who came in a little late to zooming in on sustainability, make sure that you email us at the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition, the GULLGEECO@AOL.com. Again, that's GULLGEECO@AOL.com. Also, if you follow us at Gullah Geechee on Twitter, at Gullah Geechee on Instagram, and you should already be following GullahGeecheeNation.com, you will see the postings that will be coming up on how you can sign up through Eventbrite. It's going to be a by donation screening, and those funds are going to go into our Gullah Geechee Land and Legacy Fund. We are here talking about continuing a legacy of Afro-Spirituality that only could be kept alive if we have archives, like we have the Gullah Geechee Al-Kibulan archive, and we've been blessed by Xavier and Cassio with copies of the first sets of CDs of the audio recordings that they amassed with their first film. And then we are waiting. I am chomping at the bit to get this new booklet and the CDs. And all of you who email us, again, GULLGEECO@AOL.com. We're going to send you the links that you can download the PDF. You can go and listen to audio recordings from the first set of materials. But we want you to be here with us February the 19th when we actually screen this second film, so that you will get a chance to see the thing in the entirety. And you will see the linkage then between the Gullah Geechee Nation and Brazil, our discussions of our root here, the Gullah Geechee thing, yeah, how we crack we teach you, how then a crack and teach you on and thing like that, and how the lived environment, the spiritual environment, is about what I always tell you. You have to have that breath. That is the life. That is the spirit. That is, we said voodoo, the spirit that coming forth. When you said juju, that is that power and energy that puts forth that which you manifested. And again, it can be positive, it can be negative. We go on the side of the positive, but not everybody does. Okay. So here it is that in this film, you'll hear what Lorenzo Dow Turner heard. You'll see these people reconnecting, all of us, including me, reconnecting to what he collected before many of us were born, or some of the people in the film were little children. And now hearing our ancestors singing the songs and going, wait, I know that song. Or I heard songs and said, that song sounds like a song here. They're singing it in what? And they're singing it in the Angolan language. They were singing it with some Portuguese in it. They were singing it in different ways. Just like if I go into Oyotunji, the Oba and I go back and forth because they'll do songs in Yoruba, but they'll do it with this polyrhythm. Right? And I said, oh, stop teeth, we think, you know, and we'll always laugh because it all connects us. And so when we do this screening, it's not only in celebration of Black History Month, it is in celebration of continuing our traditions in spite of what Xavier has outlined, white supremacy. That is where the power is. That is where the energy is. That is when you know it has to be people of the spirit that have thrived and survived around the world in spite of those trying to annihilate us even at this moment, all right? Because the racism that's in North America is the racism that's in South America. The racism that's in South America is the racism that's in South Africa. The racism, so we can just keep going all around from continent to continent, country to country. It's the same spirit that our spirits have to overcome, but it's only those righteous ones that live and walk in spirit and faith that will overcome this darker, as they like to classify it, I don't classify it that way, but negative energy that's out there. And part of that is making sure we transform by renewing of our minds, where we thought that these things were evil somehow. They were some fetish things that needed to be gotten rid of. Here within academic circles, people were like, wait a minute, that's intriguing. What is that? And it matters so much, we should collect it. And that's what Lorenzo Dow Turner did. Now, interestingly enough, Lorenzo Dow Turner was from North Kakalaki. He was of African descent. He was from Elizabeth City in North Kakalaki. He ended up here in South Kakalaki at South Carolina State. That went and yet he didn't turn and he said, well, great God, what is you? And that's what intrigued him. He said, wait a minute, they're not speaking broken English. They sound like African words they're saying. These names they're coming to the college with, they're African. And I remember people in North Carolina doing the same. So when he went around collecting what is now called the Africanisms of our people, and some of you have seen this book that is the seminal work, the pivotal work about Africanisms in the Gullah dialect. That's what they said to him then. It's just a dialect. But they tried to relegate it to being a dialect of English. Well, I yet didn't know they would crack a teeth like this, anything like that, crack a teeth in English. Tall. Okay? Just like you got yours too. Yes. Xavier has his as well. And so all of us keep it near because it's almost like a biblical journey for us into these linkages and connections. Yeah, go ahead, Xavier.
Yes, about the book, it's important to state that Lorenzo Dow Turner didn't come to Bahia by chance. It took him many years to have fundings to come here, and he wanted to come to Bahia especially to prove his theory about Gullah being not a bad English or baby talk, but a Creole language. So he came here because he knew he would find within the Candomblé communities an amazing reservoir of linguistic elements that would prove his theory. So when in 1949 he published this amazing book, it was also based on the fieldwork he did in Bahia and connecting both the areas. And I would say that for me, that I only went twice to St. Helena Island in my life and for a few days. And so you're in the film, we are very happy to have you in this film that he is filmed there. And then in Bloomington, where the recordings are in Indiana, and obviously most part here in Bahia, reconnecting. But I would say truly, for us who came from this amazing sacred place of Bahia, of the Bay of All Saints, of the Recôncavo area around the bay where most Africans came to Brazil, being at Oyotunji village and being there with you on St. Helena Island is just like walking on sacred land. I went many, many times to Itaparica Island in my life for Baba Egungun festivals. At night, because it's different, because of Catholicism, it was perverted on some aspects. And when I went to Oyotunji 2 years ago for one of the most amazing Baba I've seen in my life, I felt like I was in Benin or maybe in Nigeria. So, I mean, it was amazingly, deeply, directly connected to Africa. And it was amazing. So being on St. Helena with you speaking Gullah and sharing the Praise House experience. So we see how completely interconnected it is. As you said, it doesn't matter if it's the Holy Spirit by the Christian influence or so many, many spirits like Vodun, Orishais, Nkisi. But when you see someone in a praise house, in a black church, in a Candomblé, or at Oyotunji, I believe that the Afro-spirituality is almost the same. The experience of something divine that came from Africa is just the same. And obviously, it's how people had to deal with white supremacy and oppression and racism and so many things that makes sometimes look different. But I think that beyond that, deep inside, it's completely interconnected.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Oba, I want you to chime in right there because, you know, many times you tried to keep me up there, had skeeter and thing to bite me and all them kind of thing up there because y'all got all kind of ritual of going and bimbe to grind all through the nighttime in the dark and things like that at Oyotunji. But we know that every year you and I both host thousands of people that make journeys here to the Gullah Geechee Nation. And one of the things that you and I have talked about is people not coming with a tourist lens, you know, that they need to connect to the spirit that's here. And see, that's what Xavier just expressed, because you were open to being able to connect to the power and the energy of being on the land that is sacred. You felt that. But many people come to this region with some other preconceived notions in their head, and they won't necessarily have the same spiritual experience because they're looking for that Hollywood version. They're looking for the microwave version. They want someone to basically sell spirituality in a bottle or a bag that they can buy at a gift shop, and then they can take it and run. And we have to often say, no, that's not how it goes. And Oba and I, as leaders, are always trying to explain to people, as a chiefess, as a queen mother, and him as a king, and Oba, we're spiritual leaders, and we're also, in my case, political leaders. And so we have to also set the tone of things. And so what others look at as the mundane is still part of the spirituality. That's what keeps the land sacred. You are connected with the land, and the land is connected to you. You're connected to the water is connected to you. And all that is critical. And I think that those are points that people now miss because they are into mythology instead of reality. And so, Oba, I would love for you to go ahead and share on that, and then share with us. I'm going to give you an opportunity to share screen, to share the footage that you also mentioned for Brazil. And so folks, make sure, don't forget, we will re-show this on GullahGeechee.tv, GullahGeechee.tv. So just follow, just go ahead, subscribe for free. It's free. Follow me, yeah? Okay, go on to GullahGeechee.tv, and that's GullahGeechee.tv. All right, ain't no I Geechee if it a we. So if you follow GullahGeechee.tv, you will be able to see this again in its entirety, then share it, study it, talk with your folks about it, and then also connect with us. Again, follow at Gullah Geechee on Twitter, Instagram, GullahGeecheeNation.com, and then also email us to GULL GEECO@AOL.com, and you'll be in our database so that you will get emailed about the February 19th screening, and then future discussions that we're going to have, because on this show, we're going to also have a broader discussion about voodoo and all of these things we're talking about today that we're giving you in brief, how Lorenzo Dow Turner saw it, how now Xavier and Cassio saw it, how they documented this process, but everything's not to be documented and everything's not to be published. Many things are to be lived, and the sacred you don't give away. One of the things that Kwame Shah always says from All Mobile Productions is you don't give away your golden tortoise, okay? And I keep trying to teach the younger people that, because I see people all over social media designating themselves as priestesses. You don't do that, okay? That's going to be a spiritual problem for you. And it's not going to be I didn't say a spiritual thing, I said a spiritual problem for you. And so you don't play with the sacred. You don't bastardize the sacred. The Western world does tend to do that. But that which ye sow, ye shall also reap. So that's a positive and a negative. If you sow righteousness, you reap righteousness. But when you sow negativity and foolishness, you reap that. And more often than not, you reap an abundant harvest of it. So you'll have mental problems, you'll have spiritual problems, you have emotional problems, and wonder why. It's because you're playing with something that's sacred. So don't do that. We want to make sure you are very clear about that. The people who have what we call the mantle are people who are called, and usually elders, people of wisdom, are the sacred people in those communities. See that even when you're a child. And then they begin to work with you to grow in the process. You don't suddenly read a book and say, I'm going to do this myself. That's not how that process works. And that's why certain things that you think you're working on will work against you if you do that. And so, Oba, definitely share a little bit on this, and then we're going to let you share the screen and show us what Hana been to do down there. Now, remember, this a family show, Oba. So I know you going Brazil. I know all kind of things you've been to do down there at Carvalho. Like, and I got to watch you. Don't show the wrong video. Go on, turn your mic back on.
Okay, so yeah, I would say that what people get misconstrued sometimes is that they with the Hollywood version, things just sort of kind of happen and there's sensationalization. However, when you like come to a festival with Oyotunji, and if you come to the drumming part and the singing part, that's one part of the celebration. But before that, they had to go and commune with nature. The priests would go into the woods, they would pick certain herbs, and they would come back to the temple and they would crush those herbs and they would manifest those herbs on the earth. They would sing to the herbs. They'd sing songs to the herbs to wake up the life, because you know herbs are living, you know. I mean, they have blood in them. Generally, when you take a herb and you crunch it and you smell that aroma, that's the herbs. Basically,
and even more than that, Opa, even more than that, if you look at the palm of your hand, right, there are lines there, right, veins, right? If
yes,
you look at the back of a leaf, what do you see? You see lines there, you see veins there.
Exactly.
That's where the energy travels. That's where the spirit of it is.
Mm-hmm. And so they would do that, and they would bring those herbs alive, and then now that they have a bath made of the various spiritual herbs in the forest, then they would share that bath, and everyone would go home and bathe in that herbal bath. Now everyone would go home and dress in white. By dressing in white, you were signifying that, okay, I am pure now. I've took my herbal bath, I've cleaned up, you know, I prayed to my head, I prayed to my God, I'm pure now. So I put on white. Now you will re-enter, and then the next part of the ceremony will begin. So I pointed that out because, like you said, people get it construed with wanting to see something sensational when they come, but it's real life. This is real life for us, you know. You know, when we right. Go down to the creek and fish and stuff, we're not fishing because, you know, we're trying to take you on a charter cruise. This is real life. Right. For us. You know, we have to go.
We got to get something for Nampa.
You know, and
that's
we
right.
living, even though we can shop in the grocery store, but we still want to live like our ancestors lived because it's comfortable and it's a lot of fun. And it's I call it God's country. And a lot of our people need it today. especially in this time. We have to have enclaves and communities that can teach all of the agrarian skills that we're going to need here in the future, because it's going to be a tough future coming up here. And we have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, right now.
Now. Yeah.
So we have to take care of ourselves. We have to be able to care for each other. We have to be able to supply housing. We have to be able to supply water, security, and food. These are tenets of African culture. These are the basic tenets of each Candomblé, Yoruba, Santeria, Lukumi, Orisha Voodoo, or Nigerian temple. I've been to them all. You know, non-braggingly, but I had the opportunity to visit them all and see overall, these are places of care. You know, it's like the church supposed to be, or used to be back in the day. You can go there, you can get anything. You can't be scamming now, but if you truly need it, then it's there for you. It's there for you, and that is what community support is about. Because remember,
bring it all into the school.
The churches in South Carolina were nothing more than places where we organize under the umbrella of the spiritual, under God, you know. Under God, we organize and plan. We didn't plan, we planned in the field too, but the church was the place where we say, it's ordained by God today, we won't take it no more. You know?
That's right.
So
that's right.
That is what that is what that means. So when you come to South and you come to either a prayer house, and most people ain't ready for the prayer house. You know, we have to give people step by step. They ain't ready for that all the way there. So take everybody step by step.
They ain't ready for seeking, like you said with the white. They're not ready for seeking. What a lot of them want to. Yeah, they think that they see Daughters of the Dust, and that's real when it was a fictional version of the Sea Island. So they see those ladies wearing white, and they want to come here in the heat of the summertime wearing white just to wear white. We don't wear white just to wear white. We don't wear indigo just to wear indigo. These are spiritual.
Yes, it is.
Spiritual practices. There is a reason to everything.
It represents our work.
Yes.
That's our work. You know, Mama, like what you wearing right there. That's our work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
That's our blood. And people say, well, you're getting a little dramatic. No, you have to get dramatic, because from the drama come the stories, and the stories are what enchant the youth and keep the culture alive, you know, for eternity. So I'm always happy to be able to teach people. And I like to break it down all the way from the back, from the beginning, because just like, okay, you know what Candomblé is like, Gullah Geechee in South Carolina. You know, Candomblé, it's not just Yoruba. Candomblé is Yoruba, is Geechee, is Nago, is Jesha, is Orisha, is Dahomey, is Togo, is everybody. Up neat one root. Everybody. It's everybody. All of the cultures. That's the cultures from the Congo, the cultures from Ghana, the different cultures all came under the Candomblé. And so in the Candomblé temple, you're not just going to find Yoruba culture primarily only, like you probably would in Oyotunji. But in Oyotunji, as I was explaining on the call yesterday, that we are descendants in the diaspora. We all them people there. So we, at any point, we can pull from any of the magic, any of the juju, any of the history, any of the marital structures, any of the life structures of these nations and these grand nations of people, from Mandingo to Mandinka to Hausa to Yoruba to Benin, Dahomey. We can pull from any one of those sources. While our brothers back home in Africa are confined to a locale only. They only know Dahomey if they're in Dahomey. But us over here, we are descendants and have a huge wealth. That is our power. And that's why I tell people the diaspora coming online in terms of culture is going to be bigger than Africa, because it is through the diasporas that we support the homeland. No different than how the Jewish people, I love them to death. I don't knock them. I love what they do. They support their homeland based on the diaspora. Israel is a small little place. They can't even grow anything over there. Yeah, the dirt has got the Dead Sea. It's a bunch of salt. It's desert. How do they get all of those, all that funding? From the diaspora? And so we seek to try to bridge that to all our people. And it's only through culture that we share, because it's only through culture that the Jewish people unite under the umbrella of their culture to support their homeland, because their homeland is their umbilical cord. It's their umbilical cord. So we always feed that. And so we have to understand so many things as people in the diaspora, but bit by bit, we eat the head of the fish. And bit by bit, if one to eat rat, you gotta eat that head rat slow.
And then it done down on the horse. You ain't got no keel or nothing.
Slow now. You gotta slow down.
Your left.
So, bit
but let me
by
say
bit.
this, Oba, it's critical what you're saying, because many people, especially the ones who tune into zooming in on sustainability and watch Gullah Geechee TV, they realize, and you and I talked about it so many times on there, that in the Gullah Geechee Nation, we are the living embodiment of all of the Africans that you just listed. So our practices are that syncretation of all of that. All of it comes together when you get it. You know, all of it comes together when we are in that circle together. And I will never forget when I was with you at the Shango Festival and we hosted the other king from Nigeria, and you kept introducing me to them. But they were so into the patrilineal system, they would go, okay, but they didn't understand. Every time you were like, well, she is the queen. She's the queen mother, but she is the chiefess. They were like, oh, yes, yes, hello, sister. You know, and they weren't getting it. And when you finally said to them about an hour in, when you said, she is the queen over all of this. We are on her land. And they have their own Juju. Then they went, oh, oh, yes. And now I got vows. And I never forgot that moment, because I said, well, see, that's where the Western society had the influence. It started to make us think there wasn't a balance, that women weren't the ones who earthed the energy and put it forth, that it was men that do, and that is not the case. When you just said umbilical cord, the only people that have an umbilical cord that connects to the inside are the women. Okay? And so Mother Africa's umbilical cord is what we all reconnect to, because of that pulsation, that blood, that living spirit that's within us as those who are awake and aware of who we be. And part of what you're saying, when we link together now, we have to do what our ancestors taught us and our elders taught us. You have to have respect, okay? In the Gullah Geechee Nation, you know, respect is a major thing here, not a minor thing. So you respect the elders, you respect the leaders, you respect your chiefs and chiefesses, just like we did in the motherland. You do that, and then the blessings can come, they can flow, because you're in order. They've always taught us here, you have to do things decently and in order. It's out of order to think you can Google how to be the king of Oyotunji. You'll just find his picture. Okay, you can't Google all of what he has to do. You can't Google and learn what it is to be a queen mother over a nation of 1 million people. Okay, and then linking with others throughout the diaspora. That's not that. And by the same token, you can't get that power and energy of herbology, of spirituality from the internet. It is about that circle. It is about walking the land. It is about the connection. It is about the drum beat. It is about the songs. It is about the, again, these pages of paper are good to read, but they don't talk. And so it is sitting with the elders. It is sitting with those who have the mantle. It is sitting with them that share that power and energy, if they see that you are the one in which it should be bestowed. Otherwise, the cutting wouldn't be of the umbilical cord. It'll be the cutting of you off from some things, and you don't want that. Okay, so there's a lot of levels and layers to this that we can't even share here. There are things that are sacred that we never share here. Okay, but we wanted to at least intellectually and spiritually connect the family. So, Oba, I know we're running over time, so we definitely want you to take us on this journey with you to Brazil.
Okay, yes, what this film is when I traveled to Rio, the first time I went to Rio, I got my samba school is Beija-Flor. Beija-Flor is samba school in Cidade de Nilópolis, Baixada Fluminense, like out in the suburbs. And they didn't win this year, but the group that did win was Viradouro. Viradouro won the samba this year, and they won the samba based on their story. Their story was about Oshun, the mother of the lake, the great mother who inhabits the lake, and the lake is called Lago Abaetea. And so I got to go to Lago Abaetea, meet these ladies, and it just confirms the fact that everywhere I went in Brazil, they said that the culture was maintained, reestablished, the women bailed all of the men out of slavery. And so that is part of the reason why they have so much respect. I am His Royal Majesty Oba Adejibolu Adefumi from Oyotunji Kingdom, United States of America. Oyotunji is an African village that was founded by my father, by my ancestors, and they needed to build an African village in America because African Americans didn't have a place where they can go and discover their history. So he traveled to Brazil, and when he came back from Brazil, he was struck with the idea that he has to create an African kingdom in America, just like what he saw in Salvador. You see, Africans in America did not have access to their culture, and anthropologists, teachers, scientists all know that a people must be connected to their intrinsic culture. And so I've traveled to Brazil following in my father's footsteps because I wanted to find this strong root of Africa. I wanted to see Africa in the modern time. It is clear many Africans in Brazil have retained their traditional identity. I realized that it was the mothers, the women, who saved African culture in Brazil. And that is what draws the world to Brazil. It was their dedication, it was their fortitude. The world comes to Salvador to see African culture. Their story championed this year, 2020. And it was only because of the traditional African ways that they kept. Many African Americans want to move there and travel there just to experience these sacred landmarks. And Lago do Abaeté is a sacred landmark. And so after seeing them in Rio, I traveled to Salvador to find them in Itapuã. There at Lago Abaeté, I fell in love. This is Lago Abaeté, part of the ancient history of Salvador Bahia. Here many women lived, built their homes, they fished, and this is where they wash their clothes. Today, they're not allowed to utilize the lake because it's a natural preserve, and the state government wants to keep it that way. But the ladies want to know why they're not able to come here and live out their culture anymore. Well, that's cultural, historic, and environmental preservation. There are not a lot of serene, beautiful places left. Through African eyes, we see land as part of the family. So it's necessary that these places and these stories are kept for future generations. At least no one would know who the African people were and what they did. All they would know is that we were slaves.
Quem quer comprar uns peixinhos, eu trago aqui pra colher. Deus me ajude a pescar pra você vender.
Que maravilha! As ganhadeiras de Itapuã.
Espera até quando eu voltar.
Aí vocês ficam só.
Okay, back over to you, Mama Queen.
All right. So yeah. So this is excellent. I'm so happy that all of you have been able to join us here today so that you could be a part of this historic journey. And definitely don't forget, we are going to be showing the full film that we've been talking about here with Xavier today of Lorenzo Dow Turner's journey and how it has come full circle. We've been talking about the circle this whole afternoon. So Xavier, any final words for the people and for the family as you all celebrate Yamaya there in Brazil today, and also this historic moment? I couldn't have thought of a better time but Black History Month for all of us to gather together in this way. It is such a powerful day.
So may the goddess of the seas and the oceans, Iemanjá, bring us together, bring us on both sides of this amazing land. And I should say that both of you, like other people I met there in South Carolina, in the Sea Island area, in the Gullah Geechee area, make me hope about the future for the fight against oppression in this world, in the United States and in Brazil. I want you to come back, Oba, here in Bahia and Quinquet to come here visit us. I want our people here of Candomblé to visit you there, and I think we have to strengthen these ties between these two areas. Truly, for the last 4 years, we've been watching the United States of America going down to neo-fascism, and you are the people fighting this amazing, crazy white supremacy oppression, this neo-fascism that has been going on for 4 years more than ever. So that's because of you that we still love the country that you defend and the amazing people that built the United States, Black and Native Americans, that without the participation would be just nothing. And that's exactly the same for Brazil. Without the contribution of Africans, the descendants, and Amerindian people in Brazil, there would be no culture. So the people responsible for the culture in both these amazing countries, the biggest countries in North America and South America, are directly connected to Africa. And that's why that's what we've wanted to show in this film. And going back and forth is what I most want. And when this pandemic is over, I want to visit you. I was dreaming of that all these days, and I want to go back to Oyotunji village, and I want to go back to St. Helena Island, to Coffin Point, amazing, amazing place that I've visited, Ifetayo, and so many wonderful people there. So I love it there, and we love you.
We love you too, and we're looking forward to Hana coming back here so we all can shout together and bring out the drums and all kind of things like that for true.
Yeah.
And so go on to the ocean and
Thank
do
you so much.
libations and all. So Oba, any final words for the family before we depart today?
Well, certainly. We always say, Iba Eledumare. We give honor to Eledumare, Bugwe Kutembele Dife, and all of the ancestors who sit at the feet of God in the lifetime to come. We look forward to joining hands constantly and really we look forward to joining the tenets of our culture that have to do with tolerance. We have to understand each other. We have to know where we are as a people in the various lands. We have to know the various temperatures, if you will, of our people in various lands so that we can live in solidarity. We have to know our own temperature in our own land so that we can take care of ourselves at home, because if we can't take care of ourselves, then we can't take care of anyone else. As they say, the bell rings loudest in your own home. Absolutely. So we look forward to working with people on a local level and on a national level to be able to either bring knowledge, wisdom, or they might even need a bed. I ain't know. They might need a meal or something. You know, people been in need, but let us know what you need. And so that's why we exist as community heads of state and priests and priestesses and preachers and deacons and the like, because we are the people that, you know, once everything going down, ain't nobody can go to the bar. They can't go to no party. They can't do nothing else.
They vex about that thing.
They got to go. You have to go to nature. You have to go to spirituality.
Yes.
So I bid everybody a good journey on their, I bid everyone a fair deal on their spiritual journey in this 2021.
Absolutely.
I do pray. Thanks for having us, Mama Queen.
I do pray. Yes, Oba, it's always good to be with you. It's always good to be with Brother Xavier. Give our greetings to Cassio and his family. And definitely, you know, y'all pour a libation there in Brazil on behalf of the Gullah Geechee as you celebrate Yamaya. And definitely, we are not done. I want you all to know every Wednesday at 3 p.m. we do this show, zooming in on sustainability. Next week, we will be focusing on zooming in on the Gullah Geechee land legacy. And I want to say thank you to all the 100 children who go to GoFundMe and donate to the Gullah Geechee Land and Legacy Fund, and those who send funds in to support this type of programming. The Cash App, you use $ Gullah Geechee Nation, $ Gullah Geechee Nation. Again, Gullah is GULLAH Geechee is Geechee. Ain't in no I in Geechee if it a we. The Gullah Geechee Nation. So continue to follow GullahGeechee.tv. You'll see this show again there. If you follow the Gullah Geechee Nation on our Facebook fan page, you will see this show. And also GullahGeecheeNation.com. And this month, we are having the first Gullah Geechee Black History Hunt. The Gullah Geechee History Hunt is going on. Somebody can win $1K. All right, that's a rack. $1,000. All right, y'all could win if you get these questions right over these 28 days. So follow Gullah Geechee Nation on Facebook. Follow the GullahGeecheeNation.com, and that's where the clues and everything are. And make sure that you email, once again, GULLGEECO@AOL.com. GULLGEECO@AOL.com. You can get you can sign up for the Gullah Geechee History Hunt there. You will also get emails from us about the February 19th showing of this historic film that is doing this connection between Bahia and the Gullah Geechee Nation. And you will also then be in our database so that you know all of the other things that we have coming up, events and other things like that. For keep up of all of what we are going on right up on these islands in the sea, from Jacksonville, North Kakalaki to Jacksonville, Florida. These are sea islands of where we be. And we be Gullah Geechee, anointed people. God bless all the Hunter children, all the family. And remember, we the living Black history. Hold them down, children. Peace and blessings and safety, everybody. Thank you for the journey.